Washington transfer, was on the Pac-12 all-freshman team there. This one is lined and caught by the diving Gabby Garcia. Well, Patty Gasso told us the other day she feels like the middle defense on the infield has won this team several games. That's an indication.
It wasn't exactly the most graceful dive I've ever seen, but great job by the freshman.
It was effective.
Effective.
And that's all it needed.
And when you think about just being new, you also have a freshman at shortstop. And I think one thing that Gabby Garcia has really done a good job of, there have been so many things to talk about of what she's done offensively, but the way that she has handled herself as a freshman starting shortstop has been impressive as well.
Slow dribbler out in front. Emmerling picks it up, and safe at first is Panel. So an effective bunt, essentially, there for Taylor Panel, just getting a piece of that ball and able to roll her way aboard with 2 outs here in the first inning. See performer Taylor Panel keeps it alive. And now we have Jennifer Rocha, the Oklahoma pitching coach, coming out, and the plate umpire Tatum Stolting as well. I think they're chatting about here.
I keep seeing Coach Rocha sort of looking at the stride area of Sam Landry. And quick meeting and wrapped up, but kind of see Sam pointing back to in between the alley of where she's striding out. We've seen that a couple times this season of pitchers wanting to adjust some things in the circle as far as the dirt and where their stride foot is landing.
McKenna Gibson takes the opening pitch from Landry downstairs. Senior, Santa Clarita, California. Hit a 2-run home run in game 1 of the Arkansas series. 39 career home runs, 157 career runs driven in. Missed about 2 weeks, about 12 games with an upper body injury, but 2 times first team All-SEC.
This Volunteer offense, and we've heard Coach Weekly talk about it, but what Craig Snyder has done of really just building an offense that's holistic. That is the word that has gotten used quite often, of playing to each of the strengths. And I think that's why we see a little bit of everything from this Volunteer offense.
3 balls and a strike to McKenna Gibson. And count is full.
It's a tremendous location from Landry, coming in to Gibson on the 3-1 and challenging her on the inner part of the plate. Did you notice the location, though, at the knee?
There's ball 4, so runners at first and second on the infield hit by Panel, and the walk to McKenna Gibson for Karen Weekly, the 24th year head coach of the Lady Vols, last season's SEC Coach of the Year, and 2 times a runner-up at the Women's College World Series. And she said when you know that you're coming into an environment like Norman, you talk about it with your players. And she went back to her days as a litigator. She said it's just like practicing law. Anything that you're not prepared for can become a distraction. So be ready for this environment and the type of crowd that you're going to face on the road in Norman.
And that type of approach, I mean, Coach Karen Weekly is one of the best to ever do it. And the way that she approaches the game is so different from a lot of coaches. And it's refreshing in the way that she takes what she knows outside of softball and applies it. And, you know, this is an environment that you have to prepare for. You can't walk into Love's Field blindly. I mean, there is not an empty seat in this stadium right now. And I think it's important to have that conversation with your team of this is going to be the atmosphere. How are we going to handle it? You've got to be proactive instead of reactive walking in to Norman.
Seen a little bit of Volunteer orange scattered out in right field and the bleachers out there. Here is a player familiar with this Oklahoma program, the Oklahoma transfer Sophia Nugent. And she takes a fastball from Sam Landry, playing against some of her former teammates, so there aren't a lot of them left. Sophia Nugent was on 2 national championship teams at Oklahoma.
And Nugent, and what she did in her short time here, but was just part of 2 really tremendous teams in a Sooner uniform, and has moved on, and it's great to still see her do great things at Tennessee.
7 home runs as an Oklahoma Sooner back in 2023. This is her 2nd season with the Lady Volunteers. Strike 2. Couple of visits from Isabella Emmerling to Sam Landry to try to get things situated here in this 1st inning.
2 quick outs by Landry, but then we've seen her work deep into counts, thrown quite a few pitches here in the 1st inning to start this ball game.
There's ball 4, and the bases are loaded. A golden opportunity for the Lady Volunteers here in the 1st inning.
All of this has started with 2 outs. Again, just a little bit of a swinging bunt by Panel as Coach Jen Rocha makes her way out to have a chat. But one thing that has been an issue for this pitching staff throughout the season: walks, free passes, working deep into counts, and we're seeing that here early in this ball game.
Jennifer Rocha, such a calm demeanor about her, and as Patty Gasso says, she is the perfect person for who I am. But they just work so well together. Coach Gasso can be certainly fiery at times, and Jennifer Rocha just so calm and poised, dealing with athletes and dealing with coaches.
It's such a tremendous balance of what this coaching staff has between Coach Gasso and Coach Rocha, JT Gasso as well. And, you know, one thing that I really admire about Coach Jen Rocha is she does not try to make cookie-cutter pitchers. It's a very 2-way relationship with every pitcher on her pitching staff.
Big chance here for Laura Mueller and the Lady Vols. Pitch is just missing a little bit inside. Mueller, the Middle Tennessee transfer. This is her 2nd season at Tennessee. 1-1 the count. Karen Weekly really liked the energy in that series finale against Arkansas the other day that Mueller brought.
Yeah, and the change in Mueller, it was visible.
A little pop-up that's caught by the retreating Agbayani. Bases left loaded by the Lady Vols. Oklahoma coming to the plate.
Has command of all of those pitches, and that's about the highest compliment you can get as a pitcher.
Yeah, she said, and she could win with any one of those pitches. She said Ellen Renfro is the other pitcher that she's had that she felt like could do the same thing.
That's good company if you're in a conversation with Ellen Renfro as a pitcher. But, you know, we even heard Coach Weekly talk about she could go out and you're only going to throw rise ball today, and she could still win a ball game.
Abigail Dayton leads things off for Oklahoma here. Oklahoma has kind of mixed things up at the top of the lineup. Patty Gasso said it's a little bit about matchups. It's a little bit about style of the other team, but they really like Abigail Dayton. She said Abigail Dayton's the party starter. On the field, probably would be a good party starter off the field, and she gets the Oklahoma potential party started here with the leadoff walk.
And speaking of party starter, the leadoff walk, but the emotion coming from Dayton, getting that Sooner dugout fired up. That's the way you've got to start. Try to get that spark going offensively for the Sooners here early.
That'll bring in Nellie McEnroe-Marinas. Just off to an amazing start. Had a preseason injury last year, did Nellie McEnroe-Marinas, and Patty Gasso said she was salivating at the chance to play this year. It was painful. Even though it was fun to watch her team win a national championship, she wanted to be out there. And not being out there has kind of driven her to this early great start she's had.
She's a competitor, and you can see it in everything that she does. And redshirt freshman wearing that captain C as well, just kind of showing the type of mentality that she brings to this team. But one thing that Nelly Macaron-Marinas has really done a good job of is just truly being consistent. We see her defensively. She is a rock at third base, but each of her at-bats are calm, cool, collected. The poise that she brings in both facets of her game are something that these young players can learn from, even though Macaron-Marinas is a young player herself.
Quick visit there from Megan Rhodes-Smith, Tennessee pitching coach, just to try to calm down. You would imagine Margetko got to be amped up in this environment.
Yeah, and I think another piece of this as well, and I think we saw it from Landry in the top half of this inning, is getting a clear establishment of the strike zone and establishing both sides of the plate. But I think it would be fair to say there were some close pitches called balls, and that's what the strike zone is. We're seeing it here as well for Margetko early here in the first, but trying to find a way to establish what that strike zone is and get in it quickly.
7 home runs in 9 SEC games for Nelly McEnroe-Marine.
Big time deception on the off speed coming from Margetko.
And so here is Cassidy Pickering. I mean, that's the talent that Margetko has in a situation like that. After the leadoff walk, come right back and get one of the hottest hitters in the SEC out.
And one thing for Sage Margetko that makes her so difficult, you can't sit on one speed. We just saw it to Nelly Macaron-Marinas of changing speed in such a way, and there it is again with the off speed in for a called strike. But she will throw it at any count at any time, and it forces hitters to sit differently. You can't sit on one speed, especially when you know you have a pitcher who might throw it on a 3-1.
Pickering rolls this one towards second base. Ella Dodge over to first base for the second out. So Dayton able to make it down the line, and Pickering is saying she feels like she's safe.
You saw the safe call from Tiare Jennings as well.
Yes, that is Tiare Jennings over there. It's our plate umpire Tatum Stolting with the official announcement of what is being reviewed. Safer out at first base. Tiare Jennings, the All-American former Sooner national champion, coaching first base. She's a student coach, but she's over there at first base because Falapalima Steele, who is a regular assistant, is expecting a child.
Fighting for the call.
Ruled an infield base hit, and Oklahoma with runners at first and second. Tennessee had the bases loaded in the top of the first, but could not scratch out a run. And Gabby Garcia now for Oklahoma, the freshman from Chandler, Arizona. She's got 5 home runs in SEC play. Her mom, Kara, Hall of Fame player at Arizona State. So much expectation. And in the fall, it was a little difficult for Gabby Garcia to deal with, Patty Gasso said. So to see this, what she's done in the spring, has been a special time for Patty Gasso and the staff.
She has really handled herself well, and the mental side of the game, you watch someone like Gabby Garcia, talent is never an issue, right? So physically talented, and you're always curious to see how freshmen handle themselves. And she's done such a tremendous job and has been about as clutch as they come at the plate.
Patty Gasso, when we spoke to her yesterday and asked about the Wichita State game, she said, "I can't hear you. What are you talking about?" It was a slugfest up in Wichita the other night. 19-16 after Oklahoma got 8 runs in the first inning. You're thinking they're going to cruise comfortably to a win. But Wichita State always bows up when they see Oklahoma on the schedule, and it turned into a lengthy affair. Back up the middle, scooped up by Mueller. And the throw is in time. Lady Vols flashing a little leather to close out the first. Oklahoma leads 2 in the first, and we are scoreless headed to inning number 2.
Think about that. We are halfway through a decade, and the Sooners are the only softball team that have won a national championship. It's dynasty is about the only word you have for it.
Yeah. What you're saying is the only team that's won a national championship in the 2020s is Oklahoma.
We are halfway through the decade.
I had to think about that
It's
for
wild.
a second. I was kind of doing the math, which I'm not good at. There they are.
And one of the wildest things to think about as well is, as we're here in a relatively early SEC matchup, these are two teams who their games against each other, for the most part in the last decade, have been at the Women's College World Series.
Yeah. And you take the toughest league in the country and add the number 1 and 2 teams in the country to it this year. Lower third of the order to the plate for the Lady Volunteers here in the second. Ella Dodge out there at second base tonight. 4 home runs for her. Lashes this one foul. Ella Dodge out of Bradenton, Florida. Just played 1 game in the Arkansas series. Kind of solidifying that defense up the middle has been one of the goals for Karen Weekly and the staff.
And as the season progresses, and Coach Weekly said herself of making changes and needing to find a consistency.
Goodness. That one really got away, obviously, from Sam Landry, unfortunately.
Continuing to kind of look at that area out in the front of the circle, but I think the conversation here and something you're noticing from Landry is her misses have been pretty big misses.
So as a pitcher, and we don't know exactly what the conversations are, as you said, about the stride point or the landing spot for that front foot. You could tell she was pointing at it. Whether it's sound or not, is it in your head as a pitcher? And if it is, how do you get it out?
A little bit, right? I mean, if you feel like you aren't striding out and having that strong footing, and I'm making assumptions here. I don't know that that's necessarily the case by any means, but it's something that you just have to adjust. I mean, that's the name of the game, and regardless, finding a way to work in the strike zone and work pitches.
It's the 4th base runner already for the Lady Vols. And Amaya Doyle with an opportunity to move Ella Dodge on down the line. Carterville, Illinois native. This one is ripped but foul. So 1-1 to count on Doyle. 189 average.
Spoken about, and I keep using that word, dynamic. How Tennessee is offensively is every hitter in their lineup can do a little bit of everything.
Well hit left center field, and this ball is out of here. It is gone off the bat of Doyle. A 2-0 Tennessee lead in the second.
And Doyle just went ahead and proved my point for me in a situation where there are so many different options.
And now it is Gabby Leach. Landry has been so effective this season, but did struggle. Gave up 6 runs in that game at Wichita State the other night.
Yeah, and Wichita State just a few days ago really saw Landry well. I mean, we talked about the score and the 16 runs, and you know, the Sooners used multiple pitchers in that game, but Landry, a little bit of a rough outing as far as hitters scoring the ball up. And you know, we've seen that so far in this game as well. And when we go back to the first inning, the first 2 outs of this ball game, they were outs in the scorebook, but struck pretty well.
Check swing foul ball there from Gabby Leach. Twin sister Alana, also a Lady Vol from the Woodlands, Texas. Tennessee going to be able to roll the lineup over here in the second inning already against Sam Landry. Well hit into the left field corner. That ball lands and then hops just over the fence in that foul corner. It'll be a ground rule double for Gabby Leach.
You could see Leach on that swing, letting that pitch get deep.